Hey friends of the fort, I want to start by saying thank you to the Everdream Valley team for providing us a review copy of the game. We've been following along and posting content related to the demo version for a while now, so to receive the full game free was a treat to us as it was one we were dying to get our hands on. We also want to thank all the new and returning faces alike here at the Pillow Fort. Our growth has been sort of insane lately, and it's impossible not to thank you guys every chance we get. With the rise in our reach, we've gained access to some exciting opportunities, like this one. And that only grows with time, so sorry for being a broken record, but thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Lastly, before we get started, I will say that this review is a shortened version of our article review. The article is fantastically long and thorough, so if you want to check out all the features of the game and what you can expect, I suggest you go check it out. This video, though, is aimed at summarizing it for those that don't want a 25-minute review video on Everdream Valley. With that out of the way, let's get started. Let's start by talking about the story and how it follows you around for the entire game. From the beginning, it seems like your typical go fix up the old family farm and call it a day storyline, and it is in a lot of ways. You're on your grandparents' farm for the summer, originally bummed about being there, but by an hour in, you're chasing down cows, stealing bushes from the wilderness, and having your cat jump through golden magical hoops. None of that was an exaggerated statement. You can do all of them in Everdream Valley. Now, before we get into the silly gameplay aspects I just mentioned, I want to say that this game has a pretty unique and engaging way of progressing the game through the story. Unlocking other areas and progressing further into the game to improve your farm does require you to complete the main storyline quests. We always get this false sense of, I can do whatever I want in farming sims, and a lot of the time you can, but there's always a limit to what you can do until you naturally put some hours into it. I'll be the one that says, I appreciate this. Sure, I can spend hours decorating a farm, but if I have no real purpose to progress, I tend to get bored pretty quickly. I want a game to make me feel like I'm progressing through something, unlocking stuff as I go. It's probably my filthy MMORPG mindset. I want a new piece of shiny gear and my stats to go up by 10 points, otherwise I'm not satisfied. And I can never fault a farming sim when it fails to incorporate such a mindset, but Everdream Valley definitely gave me that feeling of wanting to do the quests and gain that extra bit of progression. With each quest we completed, a new animal joined our farm, or our chore time was cut in half due to the fancy new farm fixture we added, like sprinklers, to even the small quality of life improvements that had us putting up shelters to keep our animals dry in the rain. Each one felt worth doing, and it was a fun change of pace from the usual side quests that just grant some extra coins and oftentimes nothing else. There are also some fun twists to the story of Everdream, this being the animals that haunt your dreams, or the supposed magical witch that protects the valley. I won't say any more than this on it, but it's a cute story and it had me laughing at parts due to how silly it was. Now, I'm going to keep the gameplay section much shorter than the article on the website, but again, if you want a deeper breakdown on the gameplay, go check that and give it a read. It'll have what you're looking for, we can almost promise. That being said, I want to highlight some of the best parts of the gameplay in this video. Honestly, after playing the full version of the game, I can safely say the game is fun. There are endless amounts of things to do. From running around and finding the animals in order to bring them back to your farm, or exploring the world and stealing all the fruit trees and bushes to add to your orchard, to the funny mini games every night when you go to sleep. This game does not lack content by any means. In fact, just last night, I had some deer stop by and try and steal my apples from the orchard. Well, I pet them and brought them back to a pen, and now I own 3 deer, so do with that information what you will. I will mention that the animals in Everdream Valley are the highlight of the show, and each has its own story that I don't want to spoil, but just know it's a wonderful element to the game and what makes it stand out among other farming sims. So be a little excited for that if you're an animal lover. On top of the farm animals, the world itself is massive and filled with life. From geese that will chase you down and leave you stunned and needing a band-aid, to the huge assortment of bugs and butterflies to catch, or even just the little frogs lining the riverbanks that you can attempt to catch with your bare hands. It's fun. Another huge aspect is that you get to play Farm Decorator Simulator all at the same time that everything else is happening. You'll learn a handful of different fence recipes to beautify your pastures and farm, and any plants you decide to yoink from the wilderness, you can plant around the farm to give it that extra personal, and in our case pink, touch that makes the place feel more like your own. Yes, you can run through your beautiful orchard, bask in the multicolored trees you plant, or ride your pigs through a huge pasture. Your own farm is a sense of pride and peace in this game, and I adore it. Don't worry, there's obviously fishing too, and plenty of other little aspects we could spend too long talking about, but that is again what the article is for. I can happily say that the visuals are fantastic. From the immense detail on the grass to the textures of the expansive world, It was so colorful and beautiful that I couldn't help but be in love. Their lighting is also particularly appealing, casting light into the trees in aesthetic ways that had me wanting to sit and take screenshots all day. There's only one thing that made me laugh, and it was the fact that when it was raining, the lighting doesn't change. It'll be perfectly sunny all day, then rain will just pour from the sky above and leave you chuckling at the unnatural phenomena. I almost feel like this should be in the bug section, but it's here. I'm going to have to play devil's advocate though and say, as pretty as the game is, I did run into some performance issues. I have the game on the lower side of graphics, and that's highly unusual for my PC. I'm rocking a beefcake of a laptop, one I received from school to handle creating and rendering 3D art for video games, and it shouldn't really be struggling with a game like this, but it did. I don't know if it's poor optimization or if Everdream Valley really just has that intensive graphics, but nonetheless, expect a few stutters. For obvious reasons, someone with my specs saying this will likely cause some concerns, as my PC is not out of date by any stretch, so those that are rocking older tech might struggle. I will say that I wasn't on the lowest possible graphics setting, so it's likely you might still be able to run it on lower specs. But if you're unsure, the demo is still up, so download it and see how it runs prior to purchasing. I will add that the only point I experienced any performance issues while on lower settings was when placing items in the world. I'd go to place down a fence and I would be thrown back in time to playing WoW at 10 FPS, skipping frames and seemingly popping all around the world. Now, it wasn't that bad, but it was running at under 30 FPS and extremely noticeable, so it was worth adding. Sadly, the entire reason I turned the graphics down was due to the stuttering happening on the higher settings out in the open world. So I reluctantly took my graphics slider past medium and down closer to low. It always hurts my soul to do this, but the game was still gorgeous regardless. I do think I missed out on some of the better lighting and shading due to it though, and that bums me out as I am a lighting nerd. To touch on the audio side of things, if you've watched a few of my other reviews, you'll know by now that I always score a soundtrack for a game based on whether it earns a mute or just being turned down to mere background noise. I'm quite happy to say that the music for Everdream Valley was louder than I'd usually keep it, as the game music was peaceful and enjoyable. The ambiance of the game complemented it with decently realistic sound effects for everything from shaving the sheep and watering the plants to the incredible rain sounds when it did finally storm. Nothing beat the pure aesthetic of their fantastic bird sounds though. You could absolutely lose time just sitting there enjoying the raw visuals and sounds of the game, so it wins in this category. Now, despite how much fun we had in this game and the fact that it does come highly recommended by us in terms of farming sims with creative new takes, there is a lot to be desired in a few areas, so let's mention them here. The main ones we experienced were the animals refusing to obey the laws of wall physics, and the fact that all of our produce would respawn in the same day. Now, none of these actually impacted our game negatively, so I'm going to tentatively say there shouldn't be any game-breaking bugs. At least we didn't experience any. Though I will note that one of our pigs did get hard stuck between a rock and a literal hard place, and he couldn't move. I had to go back the next day and retrieve him from the wilderness because no matter what I tried, he wouldn't budge. In terms of improvements for the game, I did compile a list of those in my written article, and it's for that reason that I won't go too in depth with them here, but these suggestions are far more for the developers to see and consider than anything. But it's definitely important for you as a potential buyer to know there are some fundamental issues that do make the game a tad tedious at times. I want to particularly state that the game does feel like a walking simulator a couple hours in. You don't get any fast travel points or a horse until much later in as well, so we were sadly experiencing a cramping pinky holding down the shift key to sprint everywhere. We'll also make note that things like the cooking and saw minigames could be improved to reduce how repetitive they feel, and the addition of a tier system for crops and animal byproduct quality would be great. But these, again, are much more minor suggestions than others. All in all, I will happily say that Everdream Valley will probably place top 5 for me by the end of the year in terms of farming sims. That's a big accolade, and you might be questioning why if you read the seemingly long list of improvements, but I assure you, any game that gets me to play 30 hours of it is one I have to recognize as being pretty fantastic. I'm usually bored by hour 6, so hitting hour 30 is a feat. From the exploration in this game being incredible, and me finding myself wanting to go explore new parts of the map, even if it took me forever to get there, the story being engaging, and I would oftentimes hurry through a day's chore in order to sleep again and progress through meeting a new animal in my dreams to unlock new parts of the map. The world is beautiful and full of life. From butterflies you can collect to running away from angry geese, it's silly and it's fun. And you absolutely get the sense that the world is alive and that the animals are running the show. You're just along for the ride. Yes, there are a few things that can be improved upon, but let me state that the base game is incredibly fun as it stands, and it comes highly recommended considering it's jammed packed full of content. While it's our job to point out the flaws don't necessarily make a game bad, rather, just not as good as they could be. That's definitely the case for Everdream. With a few updates, it would be near perfection for the farming genre, and I can absolutely see anyone that's a fan of such games enjoying their time in it. To top it off, it's a 3D farming sim, and we rarely get those in such good quality and style as Everdream Valley, so we're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth here. If you happen to watch my first demo review of this game, you'll know that the devs have already implemented some serious quality of life updates, so I'm actually quite confident that the devs will listen to feedback and continue to improve upon this already incredible title. That's going to be it for now though on our video review of Everdream Valley, but again, we highly recommend picking it up if you're a fan of the genre. Thank you as always for watching, and make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking on the little bell so you'll be notified anytime we want to bother you with our new content. Until next time.